Sidebar, you look good. Thank you for coming out tonight. Yeah, you look fantastic. I appreciate you dressing up. I feel like I realized about myself recently that I like to look nice depending on where I go. I like to dress appropriately. Even shopping, like the store that I'm going to, right? You might have like a Walmart level outfit, right? I mean, you just run and get a few things. And then you might need to step it up. You got like a Whole Foods or something. You're gonna put some jeans on. Right? You want to look a little bit nicer. That's when I realized one of my favorite stores to go into is Home Depot. Yeah, because not only do you not have to look nice, like the dirtiest person in there gets the most respect. Yeah, you can't go in there looking too nice, right? You got like a button up on, you got some slacks, you got dress shoes, you go in there. People are like, what is he from corporate? What's he doing here right now? Right? Nobody thinks you have any skills if you look too nice. But you go in there, you see guys like ripped jeans, covered in drywall dust, he's got sawdust in his hair, paint in his ear. All the other guys are looking at that guy like, that's the guy. Yeah, he's doing it. That's like the king of that Home Depot. I would argue, in fact, if you need help, like don't look for the person in the clean orange apron. Not that you'd ever find him. No, you look for the dirtiest old man in there. That's your guy. You got a project, you're like, hey, sir, excuse me, sir. Hey, what kind of flange do I need for? I'll tell you what kind of flange you need. You're like, I know you will. You're filthy. That's why I asked you. I'll tell you what's wrong with America, too. No. Just the flange. You've done enough. Yeah, I feel like all I do is run errands. I'm always out and about. I had to go to the post office recently. I had to buy stamps. I don't know, something about buying stamps always makes me feel 1,000 years old. I don't know, I'm always shuffling in there like, you got war bonds? Gotta support the boys in the Pacific. I don't know, I had to ship a package though, and I was getting real big mob boss vibes. I don't know if anyone's been in there recently. I had to ship a package, it was $45.78, right? And the guy goes, $45.78. He said, would you like delivery confirmation? And I said, are you gonna send the package? And he said, yeah. I was like, we're good. Yeah, I thought we just covered it with this transaction. Like, I paid you money, you're gonna send the package. He goes, no, would you like, for another $6, we'll like guarantee its arrival. And that felt a lot like extortion to me. Yeah, all of a sudden his voice changed. He was like, I don't know, for $45.78, like maybe it doesn't get all the way there. I don't know. Maybe for another $6 it does. I don't know. Also, would you like your package to be stomped on or not stomped on for an extra $8? Then I went into a coffee shop. and I got a coffee, and then I went to pay for it, and I had to ask a question that in my head sounded logical, but when it came out of my mouth, I sounded like a crazy person. Yeah, because I was like, hey, do you accept money? Yeah, that is a legitimate question these days, because a lot of places don't. You know what I mean? Which is confusing because you're like, no, I have the money that we use in this country. And a lot of times they're like, no, we don't want that. You better tap it, chip it, or swipe it. But I asked it because they had already made the coffee. And I was like, what do you do if I don't have a card? And the guy goes, but you do, though. And I was like, yeah, you're right, I do. I don't know. I'm doing good. I'm married. I got a family. Thank you. Yeah, my wife Miranda and I, we got 2 kids, one of each, older one and a younger one. Yeah, and my oldest is 10, my youngest is 7. So if I seem a little tired or a little sluggish, it's because I've been up since 2013. Yeah, it is crazy. I knew I wanted to have a family. I always knew I wanted to have a family, but my wife was definitely ready before I was. Like, as soon as we got married, she's like, I want to have kids now. When do you want to have kids? And I was like, here's a puppy. Anybody try that? That'll buy you a little bit of time. You're like, nurture that. But she was like, I want to have kids now. When do you want to have kids? And this is a real conversation that I had with my wife. I was like, we could have kids now, or, and hear me out. I was like, what if we wait 5 years and adopt a 5-year-old? Checks out, right? I'm like, it'll be like we had a kid right now, but we will miss all of the hardest stuff. Right. She wasn't buying it. She's very DIY. Yeah, she wanted to make her own, which luckily I didn't have to ask for help at Home Depot. That would have been awkward. But yeah, we got the kids. When you have kids, I think you start thinking a lot about your childhood, how you were raised, how you were brought up, and how that's going to affect you as a parent. I was actually raised by a single mother and a single father, just one of each. They're still together. Yeah, 50 years. It's working out pretty great for them. I just say it like that. Most of my friends have like 2 different moms, 2 stepdads, I just have one of each, so that seems pretty unique. I kind of feel shortchanged, honestly. I was probably the only person in my group of friends growing up whose parents weren't divorced, and I thought it was because we were poor. I did. I was like, I don't think my folks have the money to split up. Because I was looking at all my buddies, I was like, I don't know how your folks are doing it financially. Like, they've all got their own homes individually. They're crushing it in real estate. I'm like, my parents are in the same room. They're sharing a bed. It's pretty dire. They were so confused. They're like, so they're roommates? I was like, I think they love each other. I don't know. It's weird. It's different. My parents have been married 50 years. They got a pretty amazing relationship. And I've never seen them like argue or fight my entire life, which is crazy. Sounds good on the outside. But what that means is they just don't talk about stuff. Yeah. Anyone else grow up in that house? Like, we're not talking about that. Yeah. I spoke to a counselor about this, and she said what your folks do is they minimize and they practice conflict avoidance. Yeah. I recently confronted my dad about this. I said, Dad, you know what you and Mom do is you avoid conflict and you minimize. And my dad said, well, first of all, that is not that big of a deal. And second, I don't want to talk about this right now. So that's where we're at with that. We're working on it. I love having my own family. I love having the kids. I work a lot of nights and weekends, obviously, but I'm home a lot during the day. I pack all the lunches for school. That's what I do. Parents, you can use this if you want to. This is what I do. Like Monday through Thursdays, I will cut all of the crusts off their sandwiches, but then on Fridays, bam, I'll hit them with all crusts. Yeah, what do you think, I was throwing that bread out? No, that's good bread. With inflation right now, trying to stretch that bread dollar a little bit. Yeah. I remember the first Friday I did that, my son came home. He's like, what is this? And I was like, oops, all crusts. Yeah, if Captain Crunch can do it, so can we. And I was like, now finish your apple skins. When the kids were really young, they didn't want to sleep, and I thought they weren't getting enough physical activity, like enough exercise. I thought, oh, they're just not tired. So I started doing this thing when they were younger. I'd take them to the park every day, and I'd just run them around in circles until they were exhausted. And then we would go home, and they would go to sleep. And that was working brilliantly for the first few weeks until I realized, no, I'm just building up their cardio. Yeah, that was a terrible strategy. All that did was increase their speed and stamina. I don't know what I was thinking. I should have been giving them cigarettes and Happy Meals. Yeah, that'll slow them down. We know that works. That's data-driven, right? A little heart disease, a little diabetes, that'll tucker them right out. Obviously, I'm joking. I love my kids. I would never give them McDonald's. Or cigarettes. They don't want cigarettes. Vapes, that's what the kids want these days, the vapes, I think, I don't know. I would never. Yeah, this is my favorite moment from the holidays. We had carolers come to our door, and my kids had never seen carolers before, right? So we get a knock at the door, we all come running over. We open the door, and there's a group of folks standing there, and they're like, "Hark the herald angels." And my son just stared at him for like 3 seconds, and he goes, "Alexa, skip." I was like, "Those are real people, kiddo." They didn't miss a beat. They were like, "Jingle bells, jingle bells." Well played. The kids love the Alexa thing, because what we do at our house, we celebrate our wins for the day, our little victories for the week. We have a lot of living room dance parties. That's what we do. And the kids love the Alexa because they can like yell anything at it, and Alexa will find a song about that, right? Alexa will find a song about donuts. It'll find a song about donuts, and then we boogie. Yeah. The other day, my little one, Clara, she goes, "Alexa, play a soccer song." And I don't know if you know this, but the U.S. women's soccer team has adopted Beyonce's Girls Run the World as like their pump-up song. So she asked for a soccer song. That's what comes on. You know the song's like, "Who runs the world? Girls! Who runs the world? Girls!" And it was a cool moment for me as a father, watching my little girl dance her heart out to this song. Very pro-women, very girl power song, you know what I mean? Because I want to raise a strong, independent young woman. I would like for her to be able to do whatever she wants to do, be whoever she wants to be. So they're dancing, and the song gets over, and the kids are still excited. They want to keep dancing, and my son's like, "Alexa, play the boy one." Yeah, I was like, "Oh, kiddo, you don't get a song." And it was a tough moment for me as a father, because I want to raise a strong, independent young man. And I feel like people don't seem too keen on that right now. But I'd like to try. I would like for him to be able to do whatever he wants to do, be whoever he wants to be. But I didn't have the heart to tell him, "Hey, you are the reason for the other song." Yeah, that is a lot of weight to put on his tiny, weak shoulders. He is a sweet little 10-year-old boy. Yeah, that's it. You feel how awkward that got right here? I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of situations as a parent. I think most parents are out there just trying to do the best they can, but sometimes you get in a situation where I don't know if there's a right answer. You know what I mean? On one hand, I feel like I couldn't support, if there was a boy version of that song, I couldn't have that playing in the house. If there was a song that was like, "Men, we're the best dudes, we're in charge," I'd be like, "Alexa!" Right, I got a 10-year-old with a 7-year-old little sister. I cannot have him walking around the house in Boston like, "Make me a sandwich. Cut those crusts off." So obviously I can't support that. But on the other hand, I can't tell him the real reason. I can't be like, "You don't get a song because right now men actually run the world." That's my point. There's a little tension right there. That's the point of the other song. Topple the patriarchy, get some equality. That's what I'm for. Feel how weird it got right now? Yeah, I'm in a room full of adults, and you can barely handle this. I'm trying to explain this to a 10-year-old. I was like, "Listen, kiddo, it is complicated. I will do my best to explain it while I finish folding your mom's laundry over here." Oh, my goodness, she's going to be home from work soon. I better get dinner going. And then I will tell you about how men run this world over here. That's how we do things at the Boeh household. I don't know. We're doing the best we can. 12 years of marriage, like I said, and I don't know a lot about it. I know the little things are important. I don't know that's important. And I travel a lot. I realize, like, the little things when you travel, that's what makes it bearable. And that can be important in a marriage, too. Like, when I travel, I want to make it clear. Like, I'm not fancy. Like, I've never purchased a first-class ticket, but I fly a lot. I get bumped up sometimes. Anybody else get bumped up to first class or fly first? You get that hot towel service? Anybody? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I see that nod, that recognition. It'll make you feel fancy real quick. A little hot towel. I remember the first time I got a hot towel, I was excited. They came down the aisle, "So you want a hot towel?" "Yeah, I want a hot towel." And then I realized when they handed it to me, I had no idea what to do with that. This isn't common knowledge. I never took an etiquette class. They don't teach this anywhere. They said, you want a hot towel? Yeah. And then I had it, and all of a sudden, I was looking at everybody else in first class. Hopefully they've been here before. I felt like I was cheating on an exam. I was like, what'd you get for number 1? We doing hands? Most people do hands, right? Some people are burying their face in it like they're gonna get a hot shave. Lady next to me is degreasing her T-zone. I don't know what she was doing. I just did hands. I think part of it is it just sounds nice. Hot towel, you got those 2 hard T's back to back. I don't know, it's easy on the ears. I like it. Even if you think that's weird, you got to admit if they change the wording, you lose like all of the glamour. If they came down the aisle, you want a damp rag? No, I don't want a damp rag. That's what we're doing up here all this time? You imagine that? They came down the aisle. Sir, you care for a piece of wet fabric? You'd be looking at them like, this is unfinished laundry. What are we doing up here? Run that through the dryer. Bring it back. Why are you giving me chores? I don't know. I like a hot towel. Every fancy hotel I've ever been to has cucumber water in the lobby. That stuff's refreshing, right? A little cucumber water. Oh, I love that stuff. But here's the thing. I've never made that for myself. I don't know, it's weird. Like, I don't think I deserve it or something. Or it's got to be bestowed upon me. I don't know. And I don't want to make anyone feel bad, like, financially. But, like, I have cucumbers. I do. You know, man, I got a couple in the crisper back at the house. And we got water. We pay the bill. It comes right out of the tap. But, like, never in my life have I put the two together for myself. And that's what, like, changed the last couple of years. I realized that with my marriage. I'm like, you gotta focus on those little things. My wife, she's a nurse practitioner. She came home from, like, a long shift the other night. I was like, honey, how was work? And she was just like, oh. And I was like, boom, you just got upgraded. And she was like, what? I was like, yeah, I threw some wash rags in the microwave. And I put a pickle in that Brita filter about an hour ago. We're going first class tonight. My wife and I, like, been married 12 years, like I said. I don't know a lot about relationships. I know the most important thing, I think, is you got to be a good listener. They say that is the #1 complaint from women that are married to men. Yeah, you never listen. That's the #1 complaint. You never listen. You never listen. And I think that's unfair. Gentlemen, you seem very attentive. I appreciate that about you. Yeah, you all seem like very good. I think a lot of times men, we're good at listening at the start, and then we want to fix. We want to be problem solvers. And sometimes that's not the best route. Sometimes the best thing you can do is just listen, guys, and just help your wife feel seen and heard. You know, my wife will come home from work. She's a nurse practitioner. She'll come home. She'll be like, oh, like, how was work? Oh, we were so busy, and we were understaffed. You know what I mean? It was just crazy, nonstop. I'm like, that sounds really stressful. And she'll say, it was. And then I'll just repeat back whatever she says to me. She'll be like, my boss is an idiot. I'm like, your boss is an idiot. She'll be like, my coworkers are lazy. I'm like, your coworkers are lazy. She'll be like, my mom is the worst. I'm like, your mom is a nice lady whom I respect and admire greatly. You do seem a little overwhelmed. Let's get you a bath going or something. Calm down a little bit. Yeah, I'm not an idiot. I can't repeat everything. Yeah. I am a very good listener. I know I'm a good listener because I come from a long line of eavesdroppers. I do, on my mother's side of the family. Like, nothing would make my mom or my nana happier than just, like, sit on a bench in a public space, right? Pick up little tidbits of other people's conversations, right? Yeah, and I got that. It's in me. I can't even shut it off. It is a problem. Right? The last time that Miranda and I went out to a restaurant to eat, we went to this breakfast spot. We get our food and our coffee. We're sitting there eating, and these two ladies sit down next to us, and they start talking. And the first lady's like, how's Daniel doing? And the other lady just goes, oh, dear. So immediately I'm like, yeah, I'm still making solid eye contact with my wife, but I'm all ears over here. And these ladies are going on. You know, Daniel's over in Spain. He's in Spain now? Yeah, he's in an English teaching program over there. I don't know. He started dating somebody, which I think is good, but I don't know. He's really struggling with his anxiety and his depression. I'm so worried about him. I'm very concerned. They're going on and on. Eventually, we finish our breakfast, and my wife's like, we should probably pay the tab and get going. And I'm like, can we maybe have another cup of coffee, see how this Daniel thing plays out? Because I'm starting to get emotionally invested. Yeah, it's hard to just get up and walk away. But we had stuff to do, so, we settle up, we get in the car, we're driving home. The whole time I'm driving, right, it's dead quiet. Neither of us are talking, I'm driving, I'm in my own head. I'm like, I don't think Daniel should be dating right now. No way, he's in another country, he's isolated, he's probably just latching on to anybody. Well, maybe it's good that he has some partnership right now. But if they break up, he's gonna be devastated. That's gonna put him in a spiral. He's already got anxiety. That's not gonna be good for anybody. He should probably be talking to somebody professional, like a counselor or a therapist. Maybe Daniel shouldn't be dating. Maybe Daniel just needs to do a little work on Daniel. Yeah, this is weighing on me all day. Like 6, 7 hours later, we're at the dinner table, and I look up at my wife out of nowhere. I'm like, you think Daniel's gonna be okay? And she is completely lost. She's like, who? Daniel from breakfast. What are you talking about right now? I said, Daniel from Spain. You never listen. I do have to stop eavesdropping. I know it's a terrible habit. I know that my wife hates it. She's never expressed that to me directly, but she was on the phone with her mom last week. It came up, I heard. So we just finished this big kitchen remodel. I don't know if anyone's done any big home projects, but yeah, we did a big kitchen remodel. It was the first big home project that we did that we hired out. Like I said, we're very DIY. We like to do as much around the house ourselves as we can. So, and we hired out this company, very professional. They had like a architectural plans and a design team and a flow chart. They're like, it's gonna be 10 weeks, everything's step by step. And we knew we were gonna be without a kitchen, so we turned our laundry room into like a kitchenette, And I was like, honey, we can do this. We can handle 10 weeks without a kitchen. And that was 6 months ago. Okay, so you have done home projects. You understand. They started out so strong. I know the day one, the demo team showed up. They ripped everything out. And like one day, the entire kitchen was gone. The next day, the plumber showed up. They roughed in the plumbing. Then the electrician showed up. They roughed in the electrical. And then by the end of the week, they already had inspectors there to inspect the work so they could button up the floor and the walls. And I was like, wow, you guys are doing great. You're really cruising. They're like, yeah, we'll see you Monday morning, 8 a.m. I was like, all right. And then Monday, nobody showed up. Yeah, I was looking at my wife like, did we get ghosted? Did they break up with us? Is it over? Yeah, we didn't hear anything for a few days. Then we get a text. They said, sorry, we got busy with another job, but we finished that up. We'll be there tomorrow. We'll get back to work. And then little things started shaking my confidence in the crew. At one point, the guy was working on baseboard trim. I think we had like 24 total feet of baseboard trim, and the guy came up 6 feet short. Ran out of materials. And I was like, even I know, measure twice, cut once. You might want to get a little extra product. There's going to be some waste when you start cutting. I said, what happened? He goes, yeah, my numbers were a little off. Yeah, he's like, I'm sorry about that. But he's like, I got to reorder some more trim boards. Those were custom trim boards, but I'll get those reordered. But with supply chain issues right now, it's probably going to be about 6 to 8 weeks on those trim boards. Yeah, so he got those ordered. And then at one point, this guy stops by. He goes, I got to measure your windows and your slider door so I can get those ordered. And I was like, you didn't order the windows and the sliding door 3 months ago when you had architectural plans? And he said, yeah, I'm sorry about that. But I want you to know that's 100% my fault. Yeah, something about the tone of his voice. It was so genuine. And I think he thought that maybe I thought it was my fault. Yeah, I was pretty confident that it was 0% my fault. But he goes, I'll go ahead and get those windows and that door order for you, but with supply chain issues right now, it's going to be about 6 to 8 weeks on those windows and the door. So that kind of slowed everything up. But eventually they finished, and the kitchen looks great. And then we owed them the final payment for the work. And so what I did on that Monday was I just didn't send the check. Yeah, then they called me and they were like, hey, we didn't get the final payment. And I said, I'll get that right out to you. And then I didn't send the check. Then they called me and they were like, we still haven't received payment. And I was like, here's the deal, guys. I just wrote my last check, but I called the bank and I reordered checks, but with supply chain issues right now. It's gonna be about 6 to 8 weeks on those checks. So I waited a month and a half, and then I called them up and I was like, good news, fellas, checks came in. I'll get that right out to you. And then I mailed them the final check. And then they called me, because they're like, hey, we got the check, but the money's not all here. I said, yeah, my numbers were a little off. But I told them, I said, I want you to know that's 100% my fault. I'm Tyler Boeh. You folks have been fantastic. Thank you so much.